there, and welcome to today's episode of the Witchin Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make a very basic, very versatile bread recipe. Now, I'm sure that we've all seen the advertised low-carb keto breads. I saw a video on YouTube of people actually washing their car with a slice of that bread, and when they were through, they rinsed out the slice of bread, wrung the water out of it, and it still looked like a slice of bread. You can't eat that, that's not food. So I'm going to show you how to make your own healthy, gluten-free, no added sugar, low carb, extremely easy to bake, and versatile enough that you can, I'm going to make it today with spices that you would typically put in stuffing, and we will be back in a later episode to show you how to make keto stuffing. I'm also going to show you how to make a sort of a dessert loaf type with the same recipe, only we're going to make a blueberry loaf, which you can then use to make blueberry French toast. You can slice it and throw it in the toaster, put a little butter on it. You got a nice slice of blueberry toasted bread. You can also put a little bit of swerve brown sugar and some maple extract. Now you've got a maple brown sugar bread. You can put some zucchini and cocoa in there, and now you've got a chocolate zucchini loaf. It's extremely versatile. The only thing limiting you is your imagination. So let's get started, shall we? Let's throw on our handy dandy apron with our little Mr. Skelly Bones. First, we're going to need 2 cups of almond flour. Now you're going to want to use the finely ground blanched almond flour. It's not as gritty and your baking is going to turn out lighter with a better texture. We're going to use 1/4 cup of psyllium husk. Now the important thing to remember about psyllium husk is that it requires warm water to activate it. What psyllium husk is going to do in your loaf of bread is to give it a little bit more stretch so you have more the texture of a wheat bread with gluten in it, only without the gluten. So what psyllium husk actually is, you know those fiber laxatives that you mix with water and you stir it up and you gotta kind of choke it down? That's psyllium. It's just pure fiber, but what it does in the bread recipe with the warm water is act similar to gluten, so you get the texture. We're going to put in 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 4 eggs, which we're going to beat ahead of time. Don't just add your eggs in whole. 1/4 cup of coconut oil, light olive oil, butter, whatever kind of fat you want to put in there. If you start out with a fat that's solid at room temperature, like butter or coconut oil, you're going to measure it solid and then melt it. If you're using an olive oil or an avocado oil, then just pour your measurement, your 1/4 cup. We're also going to put in about 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum, and what this is going to do is just help your bread hold together better so that it's not going to crumble when you put it in your egg mixture to make French toast, or add broth to it to make stuffing, or stuff it into your turkey and all of that lovely turkey juice gets into it. It's going to hold together like real bread does. It's not going to crumble and disintegrate when it gets wet. 1/2 cup of warm water. The warm water is to activate your psyllium husk. Without the warm water, your psyllium husk isn't going to do what it's supposed to do. You're going to use the paddle attachment on the stand mixer. Do not use the dough hook. This batter turns out like batter. It does not turn out like bread dough. You don't put it out on the counter and knead it the way you would a yeast bread. So stand mixer, paddle attachment. We're just going to add all of the dry ingredients. Then we're going to add the eggs and the oil, and then the last thing you're going to add is your 1/2 cup of warm water, and then we're just going to let it mix and mix and mix for a little bit because you want to make sure you've got lots of air. So once you've got it all mixed together, turn your mixer up on high and just let it go for a couple of minutes because you want to beat the heck out of it, okay? Dry ingredients. This one is going to be our stuffing bread. I've got some poultry seasoning, some rubbed sage, some basil, a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of ground black pepper. Whatever spices you typically put into your stuffing, throw them right in there. Just put everything all in together. 1/4 cup of butter, which I have previously melted. 4 eggs that we beat up before. All goes right into the bowl. Super easy. This is where we add our 1/2 cup of warm water. And this is what's going to activate our psyllium husk. Very important, don't forget your warm water. And we're going to turn on our mixer, and I will be right back. Okay, so we're finished mixing our batter, and like I said, it's like batter. It's not like a bread dough. It's a very thick batter. You would not be able to put this out onto a board and knead it, and there's no need to knead because there's no yeast in it, so it's not going to rise anyway other than what you get from your baking powder. So we're going to use a very well greased pan, which I have here, pre-greased. Now I'm using a small foil 4x8 loaf pan. If you wanted to make a larger, thicker, bigger loaf, you can use a 5x9. You're gonna have to double your recipe in order to fill a 5x9 loaf pan. So I just pick these up, you know, at the dollar store, whatever, you get 3 of them for a couple of bucks. This will be the perfect size to make a single recipe of this bread. So we're gonna go ahead and throw this right in here, and I will be back and we will talk about what we're going to do to make a blueberry loaf. So we're back, and I'm going to show you now how to use the same basic bread recipe, only this time we're going to make blueberry loaf. So you're still going to use your 2 cups of almond flour, your 1/4 cup of psyllium husk, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 4 eggs, 1/4 cup of coconut oil, butter, whatever kind of oil you prefer to use. You can use light olive oil, you can use avocado oil, whatever. If it's a solid at room temperature fat, measure it solid, then melt it. About 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum and 1/2 cup of warm water to activate your psyllium husk. Now the difference here is, instead of putting in your stuffing spices, we're going to put in anywhere between like 1/3 cup and a full cup of whatever kind of sweetener you like. If you want to use a stevia blend or monk fruit, or if you're not concerned about the carb content and you're just looking for something gluten-free, just add sugar. Add your sugar to taste. I prefer mine not quite so sweet, so I use about 1/3 cup. You can use as much sweetener as you prefer. Just throw it in, give it a taste. When it gets to where you like it, stop. And I'm going to use 1 cup of frozen wild Canadian blueberries. You can use less blueberries, more blueberries, fresh blueberries, frozen blueberries, whatever type of blueberries you like. If you don't like blueberries, throw in whatever kind of fruit you like. Simple and easy. So we're going to do exactly the same thing that we did for the stuffing bread. All of our dry ingredients are together. Melted butter, 4 eggs that we've already beat up, and once again, in our liquid measuring cup, because a liquid measuring cup is made for measuring liquids, 1/2 cup of warm water. All right in there. We're gonna throw it on the mixer, again with the paddle attachment. Once it's all incorporated, you're gonna turn your mixer up on high and you're gonna let it go for a few minutes to get as much air into your batter as you can. Don't put your blueberries in yet because it will pulverize them. And I will be right back. So our mixture is well combined. Now this is what your batter is going to look like. Lovely, light colored, very plain looking, goopy batter. We are going to add our 1 cup of frozen blueberries. Like I said, don't put your blueberries in until after this is all beaten, because you don't want to pulverize your blueberries. So we're going to just very gently fold our blueberries in. Now, the blueberries, because I'm using frozen, they will kind of turn your whole mixture purple. If you use fresh blueberries, it won't do that so much. But we just gently, with a spatula, fold in our blueberries just to incorporate them into the mix. Then, once again, 4x8 well-greased loaf pan. And we're going to put this right into our loaf pan. So what you're going to have is going to be a lovely loaf that looks like this. This is our blueberry loaf. This one is our stuffing bread loaf. Now I'm going to put both loaves into the oven. We've preheated our oven to 350 degrees, and we're going to bake these loaves for about 55 to 70 minutes. Now what you're looking for, when you stick the toothpick in, it needs to come out clean, but the top of your loaf needs to be very hard and crusty. You want to be able to tap on it the way you can a regular loaf of bread, and it's going to sound hollow. Your bread is going to pass that toothpick test before it's completely cooked. So make sure once your toothpick comes out clean, give it a few more minutes tap with your fingernails or knock on it with your knuckles, make sure that you've got a good crusty top with a good hollow sound to it when you tap it. That way you're going to know that your bread is completely cooked. So I'm going to go ahead and throw both of these in the oven, and I will be back to show you the finished product. Welcome back. Our 2 loaves of lovely bread are out of the oven and they are baked and ready to eat. I'm not actually going to taste them right now, but I'm going to show you what they look like. So this is our beautiful loaf of blueberry bread, and you can see how nicely that rose up over the edge of the pan. And this is our lovely loaf of stuffing spiced bread. Now keep in mind, these breads have no preservatives. So you're going to want to either eat it very quickly, you're going to be good for about 3 days, otherwise your bread's going to be blue whether you put blueberries in it or not, then it's going to be bird food. So keep it in the refrigerator. You can probably get about a week or so out of it. Make sure you wrap it really well because it will dry out. Or you can slice it in half, wrap half and put it in the freezer and use half. Or better yet, slice the whole thing and wrap it well and put it all in the freezer and take it out a couple of slices at a time as you want to use it. Thank you for tuning into the Witchin Kitchen. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit that little bell notification and share with your friends. Thanks. Bye now.